Hey again, travel bosses. I'm excited to bring you this week's sponsor, TripStreak, the smarter travel search. What I love about TripStreak is the ability to set your personal preferences to either have or avoid red-eye flights or have things like completely lie flat seats. So the next time you need to book a flight, check out tripstreak.com/travel-like-a-boss.
Welcome to the Travel Like a Boss podcast, the radio show all about traveling like a boss by being your own boss. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have built their own online businesses. If you would like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit travellikeabosspodcast.com for instant access. And here's your host, Johnny SD.
Hey guys, it's Johnny, and welcome to episode 155 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm here with Tyler Moss in Bali.
Yes.
Man, so this is probably the fastest recap episode or, return guest episode I've ever done.
Cool.
You're on episode 139, which is December 1st.
Yeah,
which
right
was
after that first sale.
Yeah, and that wasn't that long ago. That was like 3 months ago, 4 months ago now.
Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
And the reason why I want to have you back on is you've done so much since then.
Yeah. I mean, when I left the job back in September, I told myself I was going to travel as much and as often as possible. So it's nice being in the same spot. It's definitely helpful for getting work done. But, holding true to that promise to myself, I set out. As soon as that burning season started in Chiang Mai, I packed up my 2 backpacks and hit the road.
I like it. So when did you leave Chiang Mai?
Gosh, it was right after the summit, so February 6th.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yep. And then where did you go first?
You want the full lineup?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I went straight to Japan, and it was cold, and I had been in Southeast Asia, so I had shorts and flip flops and tank tops and one sweatshirt, but I had to layer up. I had 6 shirts on, a couple long sleeves. But anyway, I went from Japan. So here's the route I took. I went from Japan to Korea to China to Hong Kong to Macau to Taiwan to the Philippines to Brunei, and then had to spend a day in Malaysia because the flight got canceled, and then down here to Bali.
Wow, that's what, 6 countries?
Yeah. If you count Hong Kong and Macau, I think it depends on where your allegiance lie.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're independent states or not. But yes, 6 to 8, I guess.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to break down all of them. Now we're in Bali, so this is a whole nother one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had planned to go back to maybe to Singapore because I've got plans to go back home for the summertime. And my flight leaves out of Singapore because that's where I was working and everything started. But, I was talking to Rob and talking to you and talking to a couple of the other guys that were down here. I was like, I got to go back to Bali because I've already been here. I was here 8 months ago for a vacation when I was working. And it's great. So I decided to come back down, get a place for the month, and put my head down, get some work, and work on my surfing.
Working on the surfing.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
Well. That's all right. I'm not very good either, but I think just practicing being in the water is good. Yeah. I think the craziest thing about being here in Bali right now is how many people from Chiang Mai are also here. Yeah,
definitely. But it's helpful, It's nice seeing familiar faces, especially in the different countries. So, it's been extremely helpful for me because I'm actually in the same place as Rob. And he's been able to show me around, show me all the good spots, and get me settled in. So literally got off the plane, spent 1 day in a hotel, and then the next day I had my apartment. So it was
and all set up, right?
Real smooth process.
So Rob Botto was on episode 152, so just a couple weeks ago, and he's still in Bali, right? So hanging out.
Yeah, he's here. He's going to stay another month or 2, right? I'm not sure.
I think we've actually decided to do the same thing, too.
Yeah?
So
the Poland thing kind of...
You know what? I want to go to Poland. I don't want to go when it's cold, so I've been waiting for it to warm up.
Yeah.
And we're thinking like, I guess we could go at the end of the month and, spend May there. And May isn't warm yet, but it's not freezing.
Yeah.
But then we're like, why are we going? And I think for me, if I wanted to live somewhere for like 4 months and have good infrastructure, good internet, good co-working spaces, I would definitely go. But right now, especially because I saw that second store, I have nothing to do. So I'm like, why am I even in a rush to go somewhere with good infrastructure or good internet?
Yeah, it's true. Very true. Maybe now's the time to check a few countries off your list.
Yeah. So
because I can promise you some of those 8 that I said earlier, not great infrastructure.
Okay. Well, you know,
And,
let's break it down. So the first one you went to was Japan,
Yeah.
and you went in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, and it was freezing. But, you know, I made it work and layered up every day and kind of wore, it's as disgusting as it sounds, but kind of wore the same clothes every day because it's all I had.
That's all right.
And, you know, I could have bought a jacket, but I literally have no room in my backpacks. I have 2 small backpacks that I travel with. Both are carry-on size. That was the decision I make. You see some of the guys that are traveling around, they have these massive backpacks, and I just didn't want to be that guy. So 2 small backpacks, which makes me pack very light. I got to be very selective, and I didn't do a good job of packing enough warm clothes.
Yeah. I think most people, when they think of Japan, they think of a warm or hot place.
Yeah, no, I mean, they see all 4 seasons. And definitely, you know, I flew into Tokyo, and it was snowing. Nothing really stuck. You know, you don't see the feet of snow you'd see back in the States, in Michigan, where I'm from. But it was cold, 30 degrees. It just.
What made you want to go to Japan?
Well, you know, I want to see every country. That is a goal of mine. So it needs to be crossed up. But Tokyo was always high on my list. I've heard such great things about the city. So much fun to be had. And I hate to admit it, I was disappointed.
Oh man.
And what's crazy is I've got a couple friends that have been to Tokyo, and they've all raved about it, and it just didn't click for me.
What didn't you like about it?
You know, like the city itself, it didn't really have that great downtown that a lot of cities have. The skyline was kind of bland with these big square boxy buildings. You know, and I didn't do much of the nightlife, so maybe I missed out there because I was traveling solo, so. You know, I'm not always looking for the party.
Was it hard to meet people in Tokyo or in Japan?
No, you know, because I stay at hostels, so it's pretty easy meeting people, but doesn't mean you want to go out and have a hard night with them or something. But, you know, it is easy to meet someone and maybe go see the sights with.
Okay.
I actually spent a couple days with a couple in Kyoto. A mom and a daughter, actually. They were traveling. It just kind of clicked. And
there were a couple?
Nah, a couple of people is what I meant to say. Yeah, not a couple.
That's kind of strange.
Yeah. Well, you know, different cultures, right?
Yeah. But so out of all the sites, which ones were actually worth going to?
In Tokyo?
Or Japan itself, yeah. Like, what was amazing and, like, what was...
I really like Kyoto. It gives you that Japanese feel when you think of, like, I don't know, teak buildings and the architecture. It was a little more mellow than a Tokyo was, which is very busy and, you know, people rushing by you left and right. You know, you got to try the sushi, obviously.
Yeah. How was the food?
It was good. It was really good.
But was it that much better than...
It's that whole thing, right? Like, you know, you can blindfold someone and give them a $100 bottle of wine and a $10 bottle of wine, and they probably can't tell you the difference. You know, was the sushi so much better than the sushi you can get in New York? I don't know, but
the experience was better.
You still got to have, yeah.
Okay.
And the fish market in Tokyo, I think it's the largest fish market in the world. So watching these guys toss around the sushi you're about to eat, it's a good experience.
Did you eat at the fish market?
I didn't eat at the fish market. You can, and I've heard it's great, but
I've heard that's a good experience.
Yeah,
too, so.
I just didn't do it.
So how much more expensive was it?
Tokyo is very expensive, and especially eating out is very expensive. So you know you have that if you're on a budget. You have that sushi dinner, and you're only going to have it once.
Wow.
Because,
so how much did you spend on dinner?
You know, I ate, you know, a couple rolls, and it cost me $30, $40.
Man.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is I'm so used to having sushi in Chiang Mai in Thailand.
Yeah.
Where it's actually very good, surprisingly good.
Never had it there.
It's so good. And there's like a million Japanese restaurants in Chiang Mai for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
Yeah.
I've never spent more than $12 or maybe $15 in Chiang Mai at a sushi restaurant.
Yeah.
And this is me ordering like plates and plates and plates of sushi and sashimi.
Yeah. No, you'd be in for a rude awakening once you saw the bill in Tokyo. But it's not just sushi. It's everywhere. If you go out to eat, it's very expensive.
How much are you spending on your dorm?
You know, in Japan, I didn't pay over $10 a night.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah.
So accommodation is cheap then.
The way I do it, I usually just hop on hostelworld.com and I look for something that has over 8 stars, and that's less than $15.
Okay.
Those 2 things check off,
and it works.
Then it's it. You know, so you go heavy on the reviews because I have had some bad experiences, and I found that anything over 8, you're in good company.
So here's a travel tip: is Hostel World, and I think that all the other ones like hostels.com and
To be
There's
honest,
like
it's the only one I use.
there's 3 or 4.
Booking. I've used Booking, but I'm not a big fan of Booking.
Turns out all of them are actually owned by the same company.
It's so strange.
And that's how they kind of get a monopoly on like prices and things like that. So the next time you book a hostel, go to hostels with a z.com, like just hostelz.com. And what they do is it's an aggregator where they'll pull the prices from Hostel World, from hostels.com, from all the other ones, and have it all in one place.
Interesting. Yeah, very good. No, I'll do that for sure. It's always strange. Like, why have all these different sites competing against each other, right?
Because they know that they're gonna. So I think one of two things happens. One is they buy out a competitor and then they just keep it under their portfolio.
Yeah.
Or 2, they're proactive and they know that people are gonna shop around, so they might as well create their own competition, which is genius.
Yeah. Okay. When you put it that way, that's a good idea.
Really smart people, but
yeah, smart than me.
But all right, so combination not expensive, but food is expensive.
Food is expensive.
Overall,
transportation is expensive.
Okay.
Because I took the train from Mount Fuji down to Kyoto. Sorry, I took the train from Tokyo to Mount Fuji, and I think it was $70-$80, and it's only a couple-hour train.
Wow. Okay.
And then I took a bus. This was a miserable experience. I took an overnight bus from Mount Fuji to Kyoto, which is 9 hours, and I can't remember what that cost me. Sorry, maybe $30.
Okay.
So it was cheaper.
So it's cheap, but
cheaper,
but
I had to sleep on a bus.
And was it like lay flat?
It was like 45 degrees at best.
That's not good.
Like, it just hurts. You arrive in Kyoto at 7 a.m. Nothing's really open. And
Did you have an option to fly or something else?
Out of Mount Fuji? Not really.
Okay.
You probably could have taken a train, but I think that would have required me staying over it another night in Mount Fuji.
Okay.
Or whatever that town was that was at the base of it.
Okay. So overall, Japan, would you go back?
Was my highlight.
Okay.
Kyoto was my highlight. And that's not to say, I think, everyone should go to Tokyo and form their own opinion, because as of right now, I'm definitely in the minority. It just didn't click for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, people I met either love Japan or they don't really talk about it too much. So it's
just another city to me.
Yeah.
It's big. It's really big.
Okay.
Massive.
I haven't done it yet. I would go just for the food. I'm going to wait until I can like ball out and just eat all the food, get reservations at that, what's his name? What's that documentary about the sushi guy?
I don't know.
Jiro Sushi. I want to be able to, I want to get reservations for his restaurant and his son or his protege and just eat all the bomb food. But I don't like seafood, so that's probably a reason why I haven't done it.
But you like sushi?
You know, it's weird. I don't like fish. But because like good sashimi or good sushi doesn't actually taste like fish.
It's true.
I like the rest of it. I like, the idea of having like, I like the seaweed, I like the rice, I like the soy sauce, I like the wasabi.
Yeah.
I like the experience. So I end up eating it pretty often.
Yeah.
Even though I don't actually like the fish.
Yeah.
So sometimes maybe I should just order avocado rolls because that's actually what I like. All right. So after Japan was what?
Korea.
Okay.
And Korea was, to be honest, it wasn't high on my priority list, my travel plans, but I don't know when I'm going to be back in that part of the world, so I was going to go do it anyway. And I needed to go to the Chinese consulate in Korea to get my Chinese visa. So there was a twofold reason I was headed there. And I was pleasantly surprised with Seoul, South Korea. It's an awesome city, reasonably priced, food and everything else, accommodation everywhere I stayed. I actually did a couch surfing while I was there and stayed in a local person's home. And it was this cool little teak, very authentic, Korean house with this garden. And it's cool. I've got a photo. I'll send it to you. Maybe you can put it on the post.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
So that was a great experience. But I look back on the 7-8 days I spent there, and I was like, to be honest, this is a place that I could see myself coming back and staying for a month or two and working, because the Wi-Fi is fast. There's coffee shops everywhere. If you're a Starbucks person, there's literally 100 Starbucks there. If you're a local type of coffee shop guy or girl, there's plenty of places.
And this was in North Korea?
Yeah, where freedom rings.
Actually, so I've been to Seoul just for I've actually been there a bunch of times as a layover. And often it's like an 8 or 10 hour layover. So what they do is they have these programs where they'll take you into the city on a free tour.
Ah, cool.
And the airport itself, number one, is great. So if you ever need a layover from Asia, you should definitely do it in Seoul, because not only do you have the free tours if it's a long layover, but even on the short ones, there's like a steam bath,
Oh, wow.
like spa in the basement of the airport. You could spend hours there. You can nap there. You can like go in an ice bath. You can go into like steam rooms, saunas. It's great.
Yeah, that doesn't sound bad.
Food's good.
Yeah.
Infrastructure is great. Wi-Fi is amazing.
The infrastructure is great. You can get anywhere in Seoul very easily by using the underground or the bus system. I use both.
How was the English there?
Good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had zero issues traveling.
Yeah. And in Japan?
Little less so.
Okay.
Yeah, a little less so. Just
Okay.
the local places that I was at. You kind of had to do the whole pointing and I want this type of thing.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Korea, or especially Seoul, is not a nomad hotspot, because they've opened a bunch of co-working spaces, and I don't know if they're doing any more, but for a while they were giving away free memberships just to encourage people to come.
Yeah.
It was like government sponsored, where they said, just come, just work here. It's free.
I mean, it was still winter there, so I mean, if you're a cold weather person, I can see that being a turnoff. But I went hiking. There's a mountain. There's a national park just outside of the city. I mean, I got a lot of good things to say about Seoul.
So Seoul or Korea,
That could be
top
the
of
next big spot.
We'll see. All right. So what was after Seoul or after Korea?
Yeah, so while I was in Seoul, I went through the Chinese visa process, which is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So I'm the kind of guy that literally books stuff a day ahead. Like, oh, this looks cool. Let's go do this. So it really put a wrinkle in my plans when I showed up to the visa center, and they're like, no, you have to have an itinerary. You have to have your entire. I'm like, I'm gonna stay 21 days. I have no idea what I'm gonna be doing. They're like, well, you need to book everything now, because they have to have proof of your hotels. They have to have proof of your flights. They have to have you have to have an entry flight and an exit flight. I'm like, I don't even know what city I'm going to fly out of at this point. So I was super frustrated. I actually sat in the visa center and booked everything that day in 2 to 3 hours.
That sucks, because I'm sure, first off, part of being a digital nomad or location dependent is having the freedom and flexibility to be able to just travel the way we want.
Yeah.
And also, I think that type of traveling is no longer a thing in our generation. I think back in the day, that's what our parents used to do. They used to plan the entire 2-week vacation.
Yeah.
Get all the hotels, have all the landmarks cited. But that's not good traveling, because if you don't like it, you can't leave.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do like it, you can't stay longer.
Exactly. And that is what I like. Because all the places I've been, like Tokyo, I've been disappointed, but there's other places I've been surprised with, and I've wanted to stay longer. And not having a flight or something else booked, you can do that. And in China, you can't.
So how'd you like China?
I've gotten some flack for this on my Instagram account, because I don't like China.
I hated China.
Yeah.
Good. Good that you spoke out.
I just, people are saying I'm insensitive to the culture and whatnot, but to be honest, I disagree with the culture.
Yeah.
I think
you don't have to like a culture.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been saying to the pundits on Instagram.
No, fuck them. You know what? If you check out the hashtag fuck China,
you'll find a lot of my photos.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, China sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody likes it.
No, I mean, like, something as simple as me going up to asking a stranger, like, directions. And a lot of times, they didn't speak English, which is understandable. You don't, it's not a requirement to speak English, but they would, like, shoo me away. Like,
yeah,
I was
they're rude, right?
like a seagull or like some sort of stray dog. I'm like, all right, man. Like, jeez.
That's fucked up. And then you're lucky they didn't spit on you.
Oh, they spit everywhere. It's the strange. That is one of the strangest cultural things I've witnessed so far. Is they just are literally spitting and like hawking loogies the entire time. I don't understand it.
So to play devil's advocate, I guess the reason why they spit so much, and this is no excuse.
I would love a reason.
The reason is because it's so fucking polluted in China that everybody's dying. Like, seriously, everybody's sick. I was in China for like a week, and I started hawking loogies. I had polite enough to do it into a tissue or something.
They'll do it in front of everyone at the dinner table. Like, it's just like,
it's disgusting.
I've literally lost my appetite, man.
So what I started doing is every time a Chinese person, especially a tourist, because if I'm in China, fuck it, right? I'm not there to change.
Yeah, of course.
3 billion people. But if they are on vacation and they're a tourist and they do something rude or inappropriate, I call them out on it now.
Yeah.
And I think this is what everyone should do. Every time you guys see like a Chinese tourist do something rude, whether it's cut in line or just fucking talk way super loud at a restaurant and just bother everyone, or just or spit on the ground. Just call them out and just be like, hey, you can't do that. That's rude.
It's funny that you say that, because I actually got into altercation with a Chinese guy in the Taiwan airport after I left China, because we were standing in an immigration line and there was 200 people in line. And if you've been to China, you know that they don't believe in standing in lines for whatever reason. They'll literally just cut you. Doesn't matter if you're paying, they'll step right in front of you. This guy stepped in front of me to get one spot closer, and I literally, just put my hand on his chest and pushed him behind me. And I was like, no, like, look, we're all in this line together. You going, and he points out, because I was on my phone and there was 10 feet of space in between me and the next person. He's like, well, you need to go up further. I'm like, me going up 10 feet isn't going to get you to the gate agent any quicker.
Faster, yeah.
So, let's use some common sense here. So anyway, he was jabbering in my ear for a good 10 minutes afterwards. And I was just like, dude, bigger fish to fry right now.
All right. So overall, how was China?
Okay. Great Wall is a must see. And anyone that is planning to go to China, very good news on that. You can actually do a 3-day stopover without getting the Chinese visa. Just do that. Okay. And then after that, I went to Xi'an, which is in the middle of the country. The train ride out there is very cool because the Chinese countryside is very beautiful.
I'm sure
it's got mountains, it's got valleys, it's got everything. It's massive. Xi'an, the city, is an absolute shithole. But just outside of Xi'an is the Terracotta Army, which is a very cool piece of history. This guy, his final resting place, he created, 2,000, 3,000 unique soldiers to take with him to the afterlife, which is pretty badass.
That's cool.
So that was cool. But, because I had to book all my stuff beforehand, I spent 5 days in Xi'an, which was 4.5 days too long.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was really disappointed in that. Had a bad experience. I actually tried to just bite the bullet on my place in Xi'an and go to the next town. I went there to go hiking because there's a mountain just outside of it, and the hotel ended up not being a hotel. It ended up being like a squatter's place where I walked in. No one was there. Like shingles were coming off it's very sketchy.
And you booked it online?
I booked it online.
You paid for it?
I didn't pay for it. It was like pay in person. I booked it off booking.com.
Oh my God. I hope you wrote a bad review about that place.
I'm like, I just never used Booking again. But it was the strangest. I walked in and I was like, hello? Like no one's there. I go upstairs thinking maybe the reception's on the second floor. There's just trash and beer bottles everywhere. And the doors are open on some of the rooms, and like some of the doors are off the hinges, and there's people lying in it. And I'm like, this is either a drug house or it's like people just squatting in here.
That's so crazy.
It was. So I had both my backpacks on it, went hiking that day, and then went back to Xi'an to stay in the hotel I already had booked.
That's insane. Okay.
Anyway, after that I went to Shanghai. Very cool city. You can also do the 3-day stopover in Shanghai. So you can do 3 days in Beijing, 3 days in Shanghai. And if those are the only two kind of places you want to see, you're in luck because you don't need that Chinese visa. Very cool city. But the issue is, and it's very modern, but the issue in all of China is that the internet's censored. So working on my websites was impossible because I rely so much on Facebook and Google. And then those are the two ones that they probably censor the most.
Yep.
So, I was working behind VPNs and it was so slow. It was just miserable.
Well, even just flying through China as a layover at the fucking airport, you can't check your Gmail. You can't go on Facebook. You can't go on Instagram. You can't go on Twitter. You can't Google anything. You can't go on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like literally the whole internet is down.
It's amazing because, everyone knows that China is a communist nation, but you don't understand the extent of the censorship until you're there.
The funny thing is the people there don't even understand it. Because I complained to the desk at the business class lounge. I was like, hey, why does none of this work? We're in an international airport.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, just use
Weibo.
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to.
Chinese.
Yeah, first off, it's Chinese.
Can't read Chinese.
Like, my email is not in Weibo.
Yeah.
My Facebook friends aren't in Weibo. Like, I can't use it.
No, it really is amazing because anything that the state government wants to put out, it's going to go on the websites that aren't censored, and people are going to read it. They can literally say 2 + 2 is 5, and if they say it enough times, people are going to believe it.
Yeah. It's insane. So, #fuck China.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Hong Kong. And I have a buddy there from my working days that's living and working there, so I stay with him. He showed me around, and he's an Irish guy, so we put back a few beers and, had some really good Wi-Fi. It was great. Spent 5 days there. Took a day trip over to Macau. Gambled a little bit.
Okay.
Lost. Yeah, lost.
Okay.
That's all there is to say about that. Macau's pretty cool, though, so, if you're in Hong Kong or Macau, make sure you take the day trip because there's fast ferries that go back and forth. Not expensive, maybe $10 or something like that, in a couple hours. So
I did a visa one run from Chiang Mai to Macau once.
Yeah.
It's this direct flight. It's pretty cheap. Stayed at one of the hotels. I think it was, I don't remember what it was now. Maybe the Palms or something there. And
yeah.
No, I mean, it was okay. It's not like Vegas though. It's not like, there's no nightlife. There's no Western people. Like, it's weird that all the white people there don't speak English.
Yeah.
Because they're all like hired Russian models.
Yeah.
And the food's pretty good, but it's not like, it's not Vegas. It's just gambling.
And yeah, it's billed as the Asian Las Vegas, but to be honest, it doesn't compare. You don't get the bright lights. You don't get the nightlife. You don't get the elegance and the whole thing that comes with Vegas. But
the egg tarts are amazing. Did you eat them?
I don't know if I had egg. I was in and out of. They have bakeries everywhere, so I had all sorts of stuff that I had no idea what it was.
There's this dude named Lord Stowe that brought these Portuguese egg tarts to Macau, and now they're famous in Hong Kong and Taiwan, all over the place. But Macau is the birthplace of the Asian Portuguese egg tart. And I've been to Portugal, and I've been to the best ones in Portugal.
Yeah,
and the ones in Macau are better.
Are you a foodie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
All right.
Yeah.
Thought we'd clear the air there.
Yeah. Half my Instagram is just food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not so much, but I do like trying if there is a local fair to try. I do like trying. Like in Chiang Mai, I think I had pad thai
everything
every day.
Okay. So what'd you think of Hong Kong?
Man, that city is big, and they've run out of room, so the only place to go is up. Very cool. Very cool. And the fact that it's built into the hill, even cooler. Walking around is a lot of fun. They've got, bar streets, they've got shopping streets, they've got local streets selling, everything that comes through the port. Yeah.
And
a lot of good
the
things
internet
to say
there,
about Hong Kong.
it wasn't censored, right?
Wasn't censored, very fast. But the issue is if you go to like a Starbucks or something like that, or a Costa Coffee or any of the other brands, for some reason they limit you to like an hour. I think Starbucks was 30 minutes, so you can't go there and work. I did find a local place that had good Wi-Fi and didn't have a time limit. So
interesting story. Sam Marks and Leanne Beasley started coworker.com because they were in Hong Kong and they couldn't find anywhere to work.
Yeah.
And they were like, I wonder if there's any co-working spaces. And they couldn't find any. And they're like, why the fuck is there not like a TripAdvisor for co-working spaces? So that's why they made it.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a great story.
Yeah. So Hong Kong, very different from China, even though technically it's owned by China now.
Technically.
Again.
Yeah. They've got 50 years after the British. So they've got 50 years as an independent nation of China. What's strange, though, because like I said, it depends on what side of the politics you're on. Because you go into Hong Kong, you get a passport stamp. You go into China, you get a passport stamp. You go into Macau, you get a stamp. So I guess technically they're all different, but they're under that Chinese umbrella.
And thank God China was smart enough not to change anything, because a lot of people were freaking out after, was it 1999 when it switched over? People were panicking, and because they just didn't touch it, everything's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would have had big ramifications because Hong Kong is such a huge financial hub that having restrictions on, whatever
internet,
on the internet plus whatever else they restrict, would have put a little ripple through the market for sure.
How was the food in Hong Kong?
Yeah, it's good. I don't remember trying anything really local.
I remember. So I've actually never been to Hong Kong yet, but everyone I love like Hong Kongese food. So like roast duck or like the noodles that they have, but everyone that I've met or dim sum, but everyone who I've met who's actually been to Hong Kong was like, it's okay.
To be honest, the best food we had in Hong Kong was this Indian place. Oh man, it was so good. But now that you mentioned duck, the best duck I had was in Beijing.
Okay.
Yeah, Peking duck. It was one of my best.
That's where it's from.
Yeah. And it was one of my best dinners throughout all of the traveling.
Okay.
It was very good, very good. So I do have one good thing to say about it.
I hated the food in China.
Yeah?
Like, I just couldn't trust it.
Yeah.
because they do all these shady things there, like use like recycled gutter oil and like just
Good
disgusting things. Like, and it's like nobody in China gives a fuck about your health. Like, they don't care about each other at all. And if somebody can make a buck, they will poison babies, and they've literally done that. And it's like, it's insane. Like,
I wonder what I've eaten.
yeah, I was in Shanghai for a week, and Shanghai is like the nicest city there.
Yeah,
it's like the most modern. Like, I was eating at like nice places too, and I just felt unhealthy at the end of the week. So and everyone I've met who either lives there long term, they do it because they can make a lot of money there, but nobody wants to be there. Like, it's like, it's.
Yeah, I found it in Shanghai. It was a bit strange because I actually went to a co-working spot looking just to do like a day pass or something, just to get Wi-Fi. It was too expensive, but I'm like, gosh, I don't know how anyone could function here behind a VPN the entire day, because whatever VPN you're using, it's gonna throttle your bandwidth, and I just couldn't imagine that. Like, it was really frustrating.
#fuck China.
Yeah.
All right, so after Hong Kong, where'd you go?
Yeah, I went to Taiwan. Had that little scuffle, not a scuffle, but a little argument with the guy in the immigration, and then Taipei, awesome city. So I think you told me that in Chiang Mai. I told you I was going to head there at some point. But it's a great city. It's like very modern, great food markets. I went to the food markets every day. Oh man,
the best night markets.
This one old lady made the best spring rolls. I don't know, I had 2 or 3, and they're big spring rolls, right?
I think I was checking out, liking some of your photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
What was your account again?
Life of Thai.
Okay.
So life.of.thai.
Okay. We'll have that in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like liking all your food pics. It was good.
Dude, it's so good. I'm not a foodie, but the food there was
amazing, right?
Yeah. The street food. They've got 2 markets, and I can't remember the names because they're in Taiwanese.
Yeah.
But Google food markets at Taipei and
night market, or just ask someone like,
pop up.
What's a good night market? Yeah,
exactly.
Or I wrote a post about it, and I have videos of me touring all the night markets and like showing what food you should eat.
So good. Wi-Fi super fast, which was really cool because I actually got some work done. And another national park. I like to find hikes wherever I go. Another national park, bus ride outside the city. Very cool. It's I think it's still active volcano because there's still gases coming up. It smelled like the sulfur. But a really cool hike, through the jungle, and then you get to the top and it's just this grassy mountain, which is really cool. And then Taipei's off in the distance.
Nice.
Yeah.
So overall, what do you think of Taiwan?
I'd love to go back. I was just in that Taipei area for, 3-4 days. I'd love to go to the south of the island, see what's down there.
So nobody spat on you or cut you in line?
No, God, no. Isn't China trying to reclaim Taiwan too? Isn't that part of their big, push to reclaim all the islands in the South China Sea?
So I don't think most people realize this, but Taiwan is what China used to be. So up until like 70 years ago, like 1949, Taiwan, the culture of Taiwan was in China. And it wasn't until 1949 where there was the communists basically just took over.
Yeah.
And that is a new country. So whenever everyone says fuck China or fuck Chinese people because they're rude, they're talking about communist China since 1949. When people like talk about like the good traditions and culture, of Chinese people or Chinese culture, they're talking about what is now Taiwan and what used to be China before 1949. I've
got nothing but good things to say about the Taiwanese people, Taiwan. Really enjoyed my stay there. Again, this isn't a requirement, but a lot of them spoke English, so traveling throughout the city was very, very easy. And then the bus,
great infrastructure.
Yeah. The subway system takes you all the way to the airport. Yeah. Super easy.
Yeah. So I wrote a blog post about traveling in Taiwan because there are little things that are like, they have a lot of rules, as in like, let's say you want to use the Wi-Fi at Starbucks, you first need to have a SIM card with a phone number to register to get Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, you're fucked. There's nothing you can do about it.
So there's a way around that.
Okay.
All right. So here's the hack, right? Because I ran into the same issue. So if you have your phone on airplane mode, which most people do when they're traveling, take it off.
Okay.
Just briefly, turn your data roaming off before you do that, so you don't get the charges. But turn it off. That allows the text messages to come through. And because I have that connected to like WhatsApp or something like that, it comes the message comes through my WhatsApp.
And the phone number, was it your U.S. number?
I did it with both. I did it with my Thailand number and my
Really?
US number. Yeah. I have 2 phones I'm traveling with. One with my US number and one with my Chinese.
I think I tried that with my Thai number and it didn't go through.
Make sure you put that little plus sign in front of the number when you're typing it into the field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's a big one. You got to go +1 if you're US, plus 66 if you're
Thailand. Okay.
Thailand.
Or you can just make sure you get a SIM card at the airport.
Yes. Yeah. But I was only there 4 days, so
it didn't matter. Okay.
And yeah, I didn't really even look for it.
So overall, Taiwan is good.
Yeah, put it on the list for sure.
What was after that?
Philippines. I flew into Manila. And Manila, it's a really poor city. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a section of it that's very rich. But the place I was staying in is very poor, and you could see it. Like a couple photos I posted, it's just dirty streets, smelly streets, infrastructure not there, cracked roads, broken buildings. So you feel a little bit for the Philippines that are living there. A lot of history though. It used to be I believe a Portuguese colony, or Spanish colony.
Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish. That sounds better. So you walk around and see the sights and do that. Working there is pretty easy. Starbucks, because I always try to find a Starbucks because you can usually depend on the Wi-Fi. They put a 2-hour limit on you. There's a couple that I found that actually don't do a limit, but I think it's just random. But the Wi-Fi is good. Working there is good. And then after Manila, I flew down to Cebu. I think that's
down the islands, yeah.
Yep. And then from there, took a bus to this very, very small town. Very small town, which was really cool. Stayed right on the beach. $10 a day. It was, it was paradise for $10 a day. It was the only Western resort, so whoever was staying there was Western, and then the rest of the surrounding area was all local. So you could walk into town, go to the market. I stopped and played local volleyball with some of the locals, so it was cool. Swam with whale sharks.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so you can do that. It's a bit touristy, but you get a lot of tourists from all over doing that. The name of the town that I stayed in, if you guys are interested, is called Boloan. And the town that you swim with whale sharks is 30 minutes south of that, called Oslab.
So I've seen photos of that.
Yeah.
Is it? Is it just snorkeling, or can you dive with them?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do both.
And are they just like? Are the whale sharks like coming up to you guys? Or are you guys chasing them down on speedboats? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So the way it works is right off the coast. There is their natural feeding grounds, but there's no way they migrate. So the locals feed them. So they keep coming back.
Okay.
And to a point where they keep coming back just about every day.
Okay. So
you can go any day and see whale sharks.
Okay.
And you can snorkel with them, or you can scuba dive.
Okay.
So $20.
That's so cheap.
Yeah, $20. Yeah, it was a really cool experience. The only thing you can't do is wear suntan lotion. So if you burn easily, watch out. And the other tip is to go very early in the morning. I went at 6 a.m.
Wow.
If you don't, you're going to get a throng of Philippine, Chinese, and other Asian tourists.
Yeah. Man, like things like that, I wish they would just make it more expensive. Because I know, part of it is, obviously you want everyone to be able to experience it. Right?
Yeah.
But the other part of it is when you have too many fucking people doing it for like a super low price, they're not really, concerned about like conservation and like, not freaking out, like it just becomes a fucking mess,
Yeah, I try to be a bit conscious on that. I see the photos of people posing with like drug tigers and stuff like that, and not a big fan. I didn't see anything that was like morally wrong with how they were treating. They were feeding them. And as far as I could see, that was all they were doing.
Okay.
Whether or not that hurts them because they rely too much on it.
Yeah, it's not the best, but it's like that sounds like it's fine. I've heard in China they fucking have a leash on the whale shark.
Come on,
they fucking tie the tail.
Come on,
which is terrible.
You got to be kidding me.
Or it was either that, or they had like nets like around it, or some bullshit.
Yeah, no nets.
Yeah,
no nets. There's just. What one of the locals, he gets in a kayak and he just starts feeding them whatever they eat.
I'm okay with that. Like, it's not natural, but it's like, it's all right. But so the reason why I want it to be more expensive is, first off, I want it to be kind of more of I think it'd be better for not only the animals, but also the people, because if you make it a big deal, people, they think about it more, they care about it more, and they don't treat it as like a amusement park kind of ride.
Yeah.
While when it's $20 or something that like people kind of just do, like, you know, just they don't think about, then that's when people, you know, start like touching them, or they start like, you know, doing like, you know, just doing things that aren't good. You know?
Yeah, and there's guys that will start yelling at you because you can't chase them because it could agitate the shark. Obviously, don't want to agitate sharks, even though they're plankton eaters. They're massive. You know, they're 20, 30, 25 feet or whatever they are. You can't touch them. You know, so there's people in the water watching you. Yeah. So when you're snorkeling with them, you just kind of, they'll bring them to you rather than you go see them.
But overall, that sounds like a decent.
It was real cool.
Okay, cool.
It is cool.
So, what do you think of the Philippines as a whole?
I liked it, man. The weather's great. So, you know, if you like sunshine and blue skies, you're in for a good time. The small town I was in was awesome. You know, I'd been traveling through cities, so it was great to get out of that for a bit and just kind of relax and reset the mindset. Right. You know, and then after Oslab, after Cebu, I went over to Bohol, which is where you'll find the Chocolate Hills.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a Philippine staple. It's this formation of a bunch of rounded hills that turn a brown color to make them look chocolate. It's cool to see. And I also saw the Tarsiers, which are the biggest-eyed mammals. They have the biggest eyes compared to their bodies.
Yeah. I've only seen photos of them, but they look cool, right?
Cool, man. They're like the size of your palm, and their eyes are like the size of your fist.
Where'd you see those?
They have this cool sanctuary. So
Okay.
there's two. You know, we're talking about, you know, treating the animals right. So keep this in mind. There's the Tarsier Sanctuary, which is good. And then there's, I can't remember what it's called, Tarsier Zoo or something like that.
That's bad.
That's bad.
Okay.
This one, they don't have any fences, so they come and go naturally.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
And they monitor them. They have like 8 that they see frequently. Oh. And they have guys that actually go out each morning to try and spot them because they don't keep tags on them or anything like that. And spotting these things are not
hard,
easy.
yeah.
Like, they were pointing them out to me, and I still couldn't see them.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that I'm like super supportive of, and I think that's kind of a shout to ecotourism and sustainable tourism.
Yeah.
Is by you guys traveling, it is our responsibility to do a little bit of research. It only takes a few minutes.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and just see if that's a sustainable thing. Because just like the trekking with elephants in Thailand, there are sustainable ways to do it, and then terrible ways to do it.
Yep.
All right,
I
so
agree.
I like that. So, pros and cons of Philippines? Anything you don't like?
Outside of Manila, not great Wi-Fi. Okay. So from a working standpoint, it wasn't the best of places. Had a lot of issues on the islands with Wi-Fi. But, you know, Manila is worth a day or two, nothing more than that, unless you really are a city person. But the islands are where it's at, and there's a ton of islands. You know, there's thousands of islands. I've only been to 2 of them. A couple of other ones that probably people have heard of are like Boracay, Palawan. I didn't get to go, but I've heard really good
photos
things
of beautiful white sand
Yeah,
beaches.
exactly.
I haven't been yet. I've only been to the north of the Philippines, and the rice fields, Banaue. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Bit of Manila is okay.
Yeah.
I don't like the food in the Philippines at all.
No, well, it's simple. Like the town I was in didn't really have it didn't have a single restaurant. That's how small this town was, right? It had a food market and then these little stalls. And they served chicken and rice and different vegetables. That's about it.
How was the food in Manila?
Nothing really stands out. I can't remember any of the meals. So
I think overall
must have been great.
So I love my Filipino friends and listeners, and I know how proud you guys are of your country. Stop telling people your food is good. It sucks. Like, nobody likes Filipino food except for Filipinos.
Yeah. And one thing I will say, not about the food, but on location, if you are planning to go to the Philippines, Bohol will be very much more touristy, whereas the island just across the bay there, which is Cebu, but the town is called Oslab, very less touristy. Okay. Yeah.
Very cool. So definitely on my list of places to go. Filipino people, super nice.
Yeah. Had a great time there.
Country,
no issues.
I think the country, it's kind of like Taiwan, where people should go. Just it's not as popular as Thailand or Vietnam, for whatever reason.
Yeah. I'm not sure the reason on that. It might be getting to some of the islands is kind of a pain in the ass. You can get flights, but if you're doing a budget travel thing, it can, you're taking ferries and buses and flights and everything else. So a couple long travel days getting from one island to the next, but nothing too crazy.
Quick shout out to March Brenwall, who spoke at the Nomad Summit, and she was the Filipino VA who used to make $2 an hour, and now she's making like $7,000, and she has her own VAs. Her talk is now live along with all the other talks at I don't even know it's on nomadsummit.com. I think just go to the YouTube and look for Nomad Summit. Watch that video. I think that one's going to go viral. I think once Filipino people in the Philippines, especially the VAs, start seeing it, I think they're going to start spreading it.
She was my favorite talker at the summit, hands down.
Yeah, it's such an inspirational story. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch it and share it.
It's funny too.
Yeah, and just cool that she was doing business. Like the way that her mindset with business. So speaking of business, so you've been traveling now for the last 4 months. Went to 6-7 countries, and I know that you were doing it, on a backpacker's budget, but you're still flying around. You're still, eating good food and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Were your dropshipping stores able to sustain and pay for all that?
Yes. So over the past 3 months when I've been traveling here, I have 3 dropshipping stores right now. So working on them and traveling has been it hasn't gone as smoothly as I liked. But I've gone 2 out of 3 the last 3 months, meaning that 2 stores have been profitable, 1 hasn't, unfortunately. But they flip-flopped. So,
really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
good.
I'm in the process of just ironing it out and trying to figure out what's making them click one month and not click the next month.
Do you think that that's a good thing that you have multiple stores where that you're allowed for that to flip-flop? Or do you think it's bad that maybe you weren't paying attention to them enough?
I think you just hit on the pro and the con.
Okay.
I'm definitely spread myself too thin. I'll be the first to admit that. Managing 3 stores is a nightmare, especially with the suppliers and orders and customer support. There's been times where I've answered the call and I've said the wrong store name because, it's just like kind of stuff like that. So, I don't regret starting the stores because I think all 3 can be profitable and they're very, very close in doing so on a consistent basis. But I could probably use some help. But I'm not ready to hire at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you should hire a VA. At least outsource your customer service.
Yeah. It would be so, I for the customer support thing, I really think being stateside would be, I get so many emails and calls in the middle of the night when I'm just not available. So it's kind of disheartening because, especially in China, I did the math and I lost a couple thousand in sales just because I couldn't get on the phone. I couldn't get on the phone. Yeah. The Wi-Fi connection wasn't strong enough for me to jump on the phone.
I'm telling you, even if you're just going to share one phone number between the 3 of them and just have it be like a generic service, just get the smallest plan at Conversational, the guys I use, and like they give you the first one for free anyway. So just like try it. It might work.
What's it called?
Conversational.
For
you guys at home, if you guys want a month for free, go to dropshiplab.com/discounts, and in the PDF, there's a link to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like ever since I hired somebody, and whether you do it through them or a different service or you hire someone full-time yourself, it makes your life so much easier if you're not answering the phone calls yourself.
Yeah, the phone calls and the emails are killing me right now. Just time. It's like I've got my whole list of things I need to do, and then every morning everything gets pushed down the list because I got to reply to all these other emails that came through. Even
running one dropshipping store while traveling is hard enough.
Yeah.
Running multiple it's a nightmare.
Exactly. Now that I'm settled down here in Bali and I've got a good connection, it's doable. Even having 3 stores, it's doable.
It's a full-time job.
But it's a full-time job.
I think that's why most of the other dropshipping partners sold their stores early.
Yeah.
Like, I think all of us went into it thinking like, oh, all of us have, one profitable store. Let's do another one together. It should be easy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
There's nothing easy about it. Following, you can go through any course or, directions from another person. But, the people that are successful are the people that work their asses off. That's the defining...
Yeah.
The defining characteristic.
So aside from you, so that store that you built during the partnership,
yeah,
was that profitable?
March it was.
Okay.
and I haven't run the numbers yet, but I think we're going to actually do all right in it because we did about 10 grand in sales.
Nice.
Which is a good thing. Well, yeah, it's always a
That's
good
great
thing.
Yeah, awesome.
It's always a good thing. Yeah, I had a really good March, and we're learning a lot about the niche because we had a dead month in January, and not much has changed. You know, I've tinkered with the ad structure. I've tinkered with different things on the website. But I don't think you go from 0 to 10 grand without it being for a different reason. So, you know, just learning about the products that we're selling and everything else. And, you know, that really helped in March.
Well, congratulations. Thanks for all your hard work.
Yes.
Appreciate it. So the other person, the other partner that's, I think he's doing really well. I haven't talked to him in a while, but the last time I spoke to Sebastian, his store that he built during the partnership is crushing it.
Yeah. I should talk to him.
But he is a hard worker.
Yeah.
I have no idea how he does it.
Yeah, lots of coffee.
He works his ass off. And not that the other guys didn't work their ass off. It's that, well, I think it's two things. One is like priorities. So other people had their like YouTube channel they're trying to build up, or blog they're trying to build up, or like they're trying to do this other thing and they're trying to do this other thing, and they just didn't have the focus.
Yep.
While Sebastian is like, you know, this German machine where he just like, time to crush.
Yeah. Seabass, man, he gets down to it. Like, he goes into focus mode and he can put in a long session.
Yeah. So shout out to Sebastian. I hope to have him on the show next time I see him. Do you know where he is?
Gosh, man, he just, I think he sold everything.
Yeah.
Back home in Germany, and he's gonna hit the road. I think he's headed to South America or something.
Wow,
like
nice.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's following his dreams. So, you know, to each their own, and good luck.
I love it. I love that we're all like just traveling and enjoying life.
Yeah.
I think there's so many people back home, probably most of Michigan, like, is dreaming about this.
Oh man, like it's funny because, you know, my family and friends are back in Michigan, and it's 10 feet of snow, and I'm posting all these photos of sunshine and pretty people and having fun, and people are just like, "What are you doing?" I'm just enjoying.
So the stupidest thing that I read online, and unfortunately it was Peter Levels who popularized it because he's the guy behind Nomad List. I think it was him that wrote the dropshipping life. Like, dropshipping is a scam, and people are targeting people in the Midwest in poor states like Michigan and try to, you know, convince them to sell all their stuff, move out to Thailand, and start a dropshipping store. And I responded saying, "You're a fucking idiot, but you are right. People in Michigan, not that anyone's targeting them, but those people are fucking selling the shit and moving out here because they hate their fucking lives."
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know about Michigan people hating their lives. I might have to disagree with you on that.
In the winter, I'm pretty sure they hate their lives.
Well, I mean, if you're a skier or snowmobiler, some people live for the winter, right? Ice fishing or something like that. But gosh, I haven't lived in Michigan for so long that I forget what it looks like. And I'm actually headed back for the summer because the summer is the complete opposite of the winter. You know, all the lakes thaw. You can go boating, you can go golfing. So I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't spent the summer there in 10 years. But, you know, as far as drop shipping being a scam, I mean, I don't even respond to that because it's not worth my time. It's a business model. It's a business model that Fortune 500 companies have been using. There's nothing scammy about it. It just doesn't, that whole, you know, when I see that, I'm like, okay, what method are you selling? Because that's the only reason you bash something, right? Is if you're trying to sell something else. I
mean, I guess it could be that, but I think a lot of it is people just giving themselves an excuse why they aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I think people see photos of people like us traveling, having a good time. And then I don't even want to say bragging, because it's not like you're not bragging about your success. You're just talking about how you found an alternative. But to somebody who really does hate their life and wishes they can travel, wishes they can do these things, they might be like, no, fuck these guys. Like, you know, these guys, you know, must be doing something shady.
Yeah. I mean, it's always easier to assume something like that than to assume that, you know, it's just built through something as simple as hardware.
Yeah. And that's why it's so cool to have people like you on the show, because now we've had 155, you know, maybe not 155 people, but we've had some repeats, but 130 different people who all make money online. Not all of them are dropshipping. A lot of them, you know, we have like doctors on, dentists on. We have people who do like Kindle publishing or Amazon FBA or all these other business models. There's probably, I would say, at least 50 different business models we've had on the show. So it just like proves that there are at least 130 people traveling while working online, making enough money that they can continue this lifestyle. And these are the 130 people who I met in person and was willing to come on the podcast and spend an hour. Like, imagine how many other people there are doing it.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, right? Like, there's a million ways to make a dollar. You don't have to do it with dropshipping. You don't have to do it with eBay selling or affiliates. You can, there's, hundreds of thousands of other ways to do it. So just figure out what you're good at.
Yeah, and pick one. Just pick one.
Yeah, and go all in. You can't, don't half-ass it, right? That's the thing. You can coast through it, and you probably won't see the result that you're expecting. But if you really, someone told me, it wasn't until I started treating my side income as a business that it started to become a business. Yep. So, I mean, that kind of stuck with me, right? Until you really say, all right, this is either going to work or I'm going bust. Until you kind of have that mind frame, you're kind of just going to coast through.
I like it. So I congratulate you for all your hard work and pushing through and making it.
Yeah,
thank
you. Yeah, it's working so far. We'll see how the next 12 months go. I play it 1 month at a time.
I have a feeling that you. Yeah. So what's next for you after Bali?
We missed one country actually. Yeah. So I went from the Philippines to Brunei.
Oh man, I forgot that exists.
It's easy to miss that one because it's so damn small.
Tiny country.
But it's the last country in East Asia that I haven't been to. So it was cool to cross that one off my list. So now I have everything east of Burma.
Wow.
I've seen. Okay. Well, that's not true. I guess like Papua New Guinea. Yeah. Is that part of the Pacific?
Yeah. I think that's part of like Oceania.
Okay. All right. Well, then Asia I've got crossed off.
Nice. Congrats.
Wow.
So Brunei, for those who don't know, is part of Borneo, which is a big island that consists of Indonesia, Malaysia, and this little tiny country called Brunei.
Yeah, and gosh, I don't know too much about the history or how it came to be, but it's an oil country, so it's very wealthy. I think Brunei has one of the highest GDPs and one of the highest per capitas. 84,000, I think, is what sticks out in my mind. But it's just like, man, I really don't know how to explain it because you fly in and it's got one city, the capital, and it's so small. There's only 400,000 people in the nation. I mean, that's smaller than like a neighborhood in Singapore or Hong Kong or any of these other cities.
Well, because Singapore is tiny.
Yeah.
It's smaller than that.
No, you're saying landmass, not people-wise.
What? I don't know.
Singapore is like 6-7 million last time I knew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I guess landmass, it's not big.
No, Singapore is very small.
City. Yeah, okay.
City island. But Brunei's got this. Yeah, it's just like a really chilled, laid-back vibe to it. Nothing's going real fast. You don't get the scooter mayhem that you get in all the other Southeast Asia cities. Very wealthy. It was cool.
Expensive
No. The accommodation was expensive. So it was the only time I paid over 15. I paid 20.
That's still cheap, though.
Yeah, and it was real cool. Stayed with the local guy, so he showed me around. Got me some of the local food. I can't remember what it was, but it was some sort of chicken and rice concoction, spicy. It's a good way to spend a couple days. You can do some nature treks that I didn't have a chance to do. Go into the jungle and go hiking if that's your thing. But other than that, that was the last spot.
I like it. And so, fun fact, I've heard that the reason why Brunei is so small, even though they are so rich and so powerful, is they actually gave a bunch of land to Malaysia. And I think they used to own that whole east coast.
Yeah.
But they kept getting attacked by the Philippines and they got sick of fighting them off. So they just gave that land to Malaysia, just have a buffer between them. Cause they're sitting on that magical spot with all the oil. And they're like, well, we don't really need any more room. Yeah. Let's just chill here.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, I was a little nervous getting off the plane because prior in the airport, I was doing a quick Wikipedia on Brunei, and apparently they just implemented Sharia law a couple years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I'm not a religious person. I don't know all the details, so no one quote me on any of this stuff. But, when I hear Sharia law, I think of like Saudi Arabia. I think of some of the other Middle Eastern countries where women's rights and, just like gruesome, freedoms are trampled on, that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, Jesus, like if I step off, the curb, am I going to get caned or something like that? But it seemed to be very lax. Like at first I was definitely nervous because coming off the plane, I was the only person in shorts and flip flops, very conservative country. But you go into the city there, and there's plenty of people in shorts and flip flops, so it's nothing to be worried about.
Aside from just checking it off your list, was it worth visiting?
Yeah. If I went back, it would be for a longer period of time, and I would do the nature treks. Yeah, I mean the city itself, Bandar, whatever it was called, the capital. It's not worth seeing. There's a couple of really cool temples, but that takes half a day. If I were to go back, it'd be for nature treks.
Nature? Okay, cool. I guess we didn't really talk about Bali either. What do you think of here?
I really like Bali. I think I told you the other day that I think I actually prefer it over Chiang Mai just for the fact that it has an ocean, and as simple as that is. But, I'm not a good surfer, but I like giving it my best try. So it's fun to, either work in the morning and go for an afternoon surf sesh or do the opposite, work in the afternoon and do a morning one. It's a great way to spend the day, in my opinion. The weather's great. The food's good. The accommodation is cheap, reasonable. It's not anything crazier than you'll find in Chiang Mai. I like Bali. The only thing, it's kind of, we're in Chiang Mai, it's much easier to put your head down and get work done because everyone's got the same mindset. Here, you've got half the people trying to get work done and the other half trying to party their face off. And, I mean, to their own right, they're on vacation. So, if I was on vacation, I'd be partying too. But, so it's balancing that, right? Because you can always find a place to go out and drink for the night, but, you got to remember there's still work to be done. So,
I think we talked about it a lot in the last 2 episodes, so you guys know my opinion on Bali. Yeah. But I think I tend to agree where I would not come here to put your head down and try to start a new business or crush your business. I would come here for a balance of being able to just enjoy the beach and then, find a cafe and still kind of just maintain whatever you're doing now.
Yep. Much easier to do that in Chiang Mai. Pull the 10, 12-hour days if you. Yeah,
definitely. And the infrastructure in Chiang Mai is still better.
Yes.
Way better.
The roads are a little bit nuts here. And I don't know if you guys have looked on maps or checked out Johnny's post, but the way it works is like they've got this main road that runs perpendicular to the beach or parallel to the beach, and then you've got these finger roads coming down, but they don't connect. There's like one throughway to get to 3 streets, and it doesn't fit 2 cars. So
it's just like the worst design ever.
Getting from A to B shouldn't, we're less than a mile from everywhere we want to go, but it's still a 10-minute bike ride.
Or longer.
Or longer.
Way longer.
Or longer.
But so I think I like it here a couple months at a time. Lucky enough to extend our trip, but I don't like it enough to live here full time. Definitely not.
No.
All right. Cool. That was fun.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm excited not only that you're doing well, but you're also just enjoying your travels. I think that's the whole point of this lifestyle, right?
It is. Well, for me anyway. There's 196 countries. I'd like to see all of them at some point. And if I can make a buck while I do it, then even better. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, they'd be happy just making enough to continue it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I've been in this position where I had that high-paying corporate job, and for a time it's satisfying, and it just kind of wore off on me. It doesn't wear off on everyone. I'll be the first to say to each their own. But just didn't do it anymore. So here I am, living 1 month at a time.
And if you guys want to know more about how Tyler started his businesses or how he started traveling, go back to episode 139. Listen to that episode where we went into that in detail. Yep. Any other ways for people to find you and get in touch?
Yeah, I've got a blog. It's lifeofthai.com, life-of-thai.com.
You love those dashes, right?
I got dashes, man. Like everything else was taken. My name was taken. The other cool, little sayings were taken. So it's life-of-thai.
I like it. All right. And thank you guys all for not only listening and subscribing, but also for leaving these great reviews of the podcast on iTunes. This is the reason why more and more people in your position find this podcast. So tell your friends and do me a favor, go on the iTunes app, leave a review. This week, I would like to give a shout out to Darta R from Latvia. 5 stars. This podcast has been with me from the very beginning of the journey to financial freedom. It is a constant inspiration with a great variety of guests that have achieved their own freedom and share their journey. In an environment where most of us are trying to break out of the 9-to-5, are alone in the journey, it's crucial to stay motivated. Thank you, Johnny, for providing this great content and companionship and inspiration. So Thank you, Darta. And also big shout out to our sponsor, TripStreak, where next time you guys need to book a flight to maybe one of the countries that Ty just came back from, or really anywhere, check out tripstreak.com/travel-like-a-boss.
I'll check that out myself.
Yeah. And I'll see all you guys next week. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus, How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.